After a great offseason, the Pats look to creep up on the Bills. That's where we start in this episode of Locked On Patriots.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Patriots fans? I am your host, Nick Cattles, born and raised in New England, your New England Patriots expert, host of the Everything Pats podcast, co-host of the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast with Nick Cattles, and also a sports talk show host veteran. On today's episode, the latest on the competition at left guard, and I've got three forgotten Pats that could help this football team in 2025. But first, the Patriots standing in the AFC East is changing. We appreciate you joining the show, making us your first listen, and for being an everydayer. The Locked On Patriots podcast is a proud partner of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. This offseason that the Patriots have had unequivocally has closed the gap between the Patriots and the Bills. I don't think it's debatable. The Patriots are closer to the Bills right now than they were when the season ended of 2024. The question is, how much has that gap closed? And Mike Reese over the weekend at ESPN, he wrote about this, and he went back to an Elliott Wolf quote before getting a quote from an NFL scout. Here's what Elliott Wolf said. I think we'll be much more competitive this year. I don't like to put expectations on it, but we did a lot of things this offseason that were advantageous to us moving forward. An NFL scout, speaking to Reese, said, quote, this is the best offseason they've had in a while. I feel like they're the Bills' biggest threat. I want to say that one more time. This is from an NFL scout, not a Patriots scout, not a Patriots front office member, not a Patriots coach or player, not anybody local. An NFL scout said to Mike Reese, this is the best offseason the Patriots have had in a while. I feel like they're the Bills' biggest threat. Now, threat is relative. Again, we're all talking about gradations here. How close is the gap between the Patriots and the Buffalo Bills? How wide is it? How closer has that gap gotten since the end of last year to right now in late May? It's all relative. But the Patriots, on paper, I believe, have the second best team in the AFC East. Let's start with Miami. The Dolphins, their head coach, Mike McDaniel, he's on the hot seat. Some thought that he might get fired at the end of last season. And there are reports about how McDaniel isn't quite connecting with some of the players in that locker room. There are questions about McDaniel. He was the hot name going back a couple of years ago. The offensive guru from San Francisco, learned under the tree and wisdom of Kyle Shanahan. His offense started off spectacular with the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa looked like a different quarterback. But things have regressed. McDaniel's on the hot seat. Jalen Ramsey's about to be traded. Their left tackle is a big-time question mark after Teron Armstead retired earlier this offseason. They're going to start Patrick Paul, who was not very good a year ago. And the biggest question for me about the Dolphins is whether or not this team can overcome adversity, because they haven't shown it. They don't play well in cold weather. Tua doesn't play well in cold weather. Even Mike McDaniel looks uncomfortable on the sidelines in cold weather. They don't play good football against the better teams. And they have been beat up an awful lot by those better teams. So you've got a head coach who's on the hot seat. The guy you just traded for a couple of years ago because you thought that you were going to make a move here. You go out and you acquire Jalen Ramsey. And now you're looking at it. And Jalen Ramsey is, for all intents and purposes, out the door. He's not coming back. I mean, everybody has said it. He's not coming back. He knows it. The team knows it. So the Dolphins traded for Jalen Ramsey thinking that they were on the cusp of making some kind of playoff run. And here they are looking to shed his payroll and get rid of what he's doing with this team, believing that it's just not going to work out. It's not a rebuild, But when you look at the Dolphins, a lot of interesting things. The left tackle situation, the Ramsey situation, Tyreek Hill. Some people think Tyreek Hill could be gone sooner rather than later. It's a very murky current place for the Miami Dolphins. And I think they're trying to fight their way through it. But again, they're not a team that has shown that they can fight through that adversity. Then let's get to the Jets. Rookie head coach. I don't know what to expect from Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn probably doesn't know what to expect from Aaron Glenn. We all walk in with a plan until we get punched in the face. Gerard Mayo had a plan last year. I'm not saying Glenn will be as bad as Mayo, but you get the point. We have no idea how a head coach is going to perform when it's the first time they've ever done the job. There's been a lot of head coaches that have been great out of nowhere. There have been a lot of head coaches that a lot was expected from them, and they never, ever came close to those expectations. So Aaron Glenn's a rookie head coach. I don't know if he knows how to run a program. I don't know if he understands what he needs to do. I don't know what happens when things get tough for Aaron Glenn. And then you got the quarterback. Are you confident in Justin Fields? I'm certainly not confident in Justin Fields. I'm more confident in Drake May. Now let's talk about the Patriots. They have upgraded. They've upgraded at almost everywhere. They've upgraded at left tackle. They've upgraded at center. They've upgraded at right tackle. They've upgraded at wide receiver. And I'm not telling you that all of these problems have been solved. I'm not telling you they have a great wide receiver room. I know they don't have a wide receiver one. We talked about it with the Terry McLaurin stuff last week. But have they upgraded? Yes. They've upgraded on the offensive line. They've upgraded at wide receiver. They've upgraded at running back with Travion Henderson, that addition. They have certainly upgraded all over the defensive line. Interior, on the edge. They've upgraded multiple spots there. They have upgraded at cornerback with the addition of Carlton Davis. They have upgraded at linebacker with the addition of Robert Spillane and keeping Christian Ellis. They have upgraded in a bunch of different places. It's a better team on paper than it was last year. There's no doubt. It's not even close, frankly. Last year, ESPN, I think, had the Patriots at the over-under at like 4.5. This year, they're at like 8.5. It's a different world. People are actually fixing their lips to talk about the playoffs. And some believe they can get into the playoffs. My buddy Greg Bedard last week on our podcast, he predicted the Patriots to go 11-6. Now, part of that was the schedule. It looks like, again, on paper, because that's all we can do as we head off beyond Memorial Day and get ready for mandatory minicamp in a couple of weeks. All we can talk about is on paper, and on paper, the Patriots have upgraded in a bunch of spots. On paper, their schedule lays out very well for them. On paper, their coaching staff looks like the best coaching staff in the division. I would put the Patriots coaching staff above the Buffalo coaching staff. Now, it's tight. You might even call it a draw, but I think the Patriots from top to bottom have the best coaching staff in this division. Now, here's the tough reality. As I tell you that the Patriots have unequivocally closed the gap between the Bills and themselves, and as I talk about Miami kind of regressing, the Jets really trying to figure themselves out on offense with Justin Fields, a new head coach, first-time head coach. How is that going to look? How is that going to feel? Here's the tough reality. Even though the Patriots have unequivocally closed that gap, they're not necessarily close to the Buffalo Bills. They are the biggest threat to the Bills in the division. I believe that. But that's more to do about the Jets and the Dolphins. See, the Patriots, even if they make a jump, they go from 4 wins to being competitive this year. That's the jump they make. That's an easier jump to go from being competitive to a legitimate contender. I'm talking about top 4 or 5 in the conference. Maybe even look at 5, 6, 7 teams across the NFL. The cream of the crop. The jump from 4 wins to competitive, easier jump than competitive to true legitimate contender. So yes, the Patriots have closed the gap, but the Patriots are still behind the Buffalo Bills. And they're going to need to do more work and continue to build this program with Vrabel to get to contender, to get to legitimate threat of taking the division away from the Bills. We'll have the latest on what's expected to be the hottest competition in camp, the battle at left guard. That's coming up next as we continue with today's episode of Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The NBA playoffs, we know they're in full swing. Conference finals happening. Even though the Celtics aren't involved, you can be involved because every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel, it's what I'm talking about, makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I mean, which players are showing up in the biggest moments? Halliburton, Brunson, Edwards. How could tracking their trends help you build your next bet? That's the question. How could a $200 bonus in bets add to the excitement if your first $5 bet hits? Oh, it could add to the excitement, my friends. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. If left guard, whoever that is, if the left guard of this football team can't hold his water, then that could create some major issues along this Patriots offensive line. You think about Will Campbell, left tackle. We hope that Campbell is average to above average. It's not guaranteed, even though he was the 4th pick overall, which is why many people said, yeah, we understand the pick, but we don't necessarily love the pick. I was one of those people. I understood it. I really liked it, given the current situation at left tackle, but I did not love the pick because inevitably we just don't know if Campbell is going to be an above average left tackle in this league. And when you draft somebody at 4th overall, that's the expectation. That's what you want from that pick at that position. And then you've got Garrett Bradbury and all the questions about Bradbury and his pass protection. So if left guard can't hold his water, whoever it's going to be, if they can't get the job done, especially in pass protection, you could have some big-time questions on this offensive line early in the season. So what's the latest on left guard? Mike Reese, our friend again, talked about him last segment, talk about him this segment. He wrote at ESPN, Cole Strange, veteran free agent signing Wes Schweitzer, and undrafted free agent Jack Conley were the players lining up at left guard. Layden Robinson, who was viewed as a fit in the previous scheme, but whose projection in Josh McDaniels' offense is uncertain, was not a full participant. Now, this is late May, and things could certainly evolve. They can change. This is a fluid situation at left guard. But I feel right now, if you asked me who would be starting at left guard week 1, I'd actually pick Cole Strange. I would tell you that I believe Cole Strange will be starting week 1. Again, a lot can change. Injuries can happen. Maybe somebody makes a push. But I think it's going to be Cole Strange. Let's start with Layden Robinson. Robinson, he had a pretty good rookie camp. And I thought he certainly looked the part. I thought he could be a starting guard in this league. And I still think he could be a starting guard in this league. But he ran hot and cold last year. Some of that had to do with injury. Some of it didn't have to do with injury. There's a lot of questions about Robinson and his ability to protect the passer. And if you can't get pass protection done with this offensive line and you're allowing heat on Drake May, that's a problem. And we talked about Will Campbell. There are questions with him as far as if he can handle every kind of pass rusher at the NFL level. And Garrett Bradbury was literally one of the worst centers in football last year when it came to protecting the quarterback. If Robinson shows no improvement in protecting the Q, then how in the world can you slide him in between Campbell and Bradbury if Bradbury starts, which I would lean towards him starting right now because of his experience. And then as Mike Reese wrote, Robinson might not fit what Josh McDaniels wants to do. He might not fit this idea of downhill duo, that kind of run scheme. They'll mix in some zone, but don't forget, last year, Alex Van Pelt, we all talked about it, the outside zone. That was the plan. And that doesn't necessarily seem like what the Patriots are going to do in 2025. So does Robinson even fit? But he was hot and cold last year, had some injury issues, big question about his pass protection, and some questions about his fit. Then we go to Conley. I'm going to mention Conley because he's an interesting name. He's a behemoth, but he's a UDFA. I'm not writing him off. You could certainly have an undrafted free agent start for your team. It has happened before. It will happen again. It's happened with the Patriots. It happens with teams across the league. But would you really be willing to bet on the idea that Conley is going to be your starting left guard? You're going to put an undrafted free agent in between Will Campbell and Bradbury with the questions that we've already brought up. Does that sound like a comfortable plan to you? It doesn't to me. I would be concerned if the Patriots came out and said they're going to start an undrafted free agent at left guard with Will Campbell, some questions at left tackle. Bradbury, I'd be concerned by that. I don't want an undrafted free agent starting on this offensive line, period. I certainly don't want that undrafted free agent starting at left guard. So I don't think Conley is as much in the conversation as some others. City So is interesting. Injury history. His injuries last year derailed his season. He was going to be starting. That didn't happen. And it was, for all intents and purposes, a lost season for City So. You go back to 2023, he had the ups and downs. Very similar to Layden Robinson, but I would say better than Robinson, and he certainly played more than Robinson in his rookie season. But City So had the up and down pass protection issues, and now he has the injury history, and Robinson has the injuries. So can they stay healthy? Can you depend on those guys? What's also fascinating to me, and we've talked about this, is City So was getting some practice reps at right tackle. Does that tell us where the Patriots are kind of looking with So? Yes, he can play left guard. That's what he was drafted. He was drafted as an interior offensive lineman, but he's got long enough arms. He's got good enough athleticism that he might be able to play some snaps at tackle. And do the Patriots view City So, if he stays on this team, if he's a part of this roster, is City So more about his flexibility and versatility as a piece on that offensive line versus he is our rock solid starter at left guard? We're going to put him there. We're not going to touch him. So I found it interesting that he's getting some reps at tackle. Layden Robinson's not getting reps at tackle. Cole Strange is not getting reps at tackle. Schweitzer's not getting reps at tackle. But City So is. So are they going to lean into that more? Are they going to lean into the idea of backup tackle more than starting left guard? Now, Schweitzer, he's got all the versatility. He's played left guard, right guard. He's played center. But I feel like that's where you want him. You want him as that break glass in case of an emergency kind of deal. You want him as the Band-Aid. You want him as somebody that you can play for a couple of games in any of those spots. Somebody goes down during a game, you can just plug him in. Now, there's less need for him to be that plug-in center because you've got Jared Wilson, you've got Ben Brown on this roster. But that flexibility of Schweitzer, I do think it helps his case to be the backup guy that could fill in multiple roles versus, oh, he's good enough to play week in and week out at left guard. That's really, I don't believe that's going to be his fit with this team, which leads me to Strange. You know, we've gone through Robinson, we've gone through Conley, we've gone through So, we've gone through Schweitzer, and Cole Strange. We can talk about Cole Strange falling short of expectations. If you had high expectations for him, which I really didn't, he has been hot and cold, hit or miss. He's had some really good flashes. He's had some pretty good stretches. I thought he had a pretty good stretch in 2023 before his injury took him out. And last year was a lost season for most of it, but he did get 117 snaps. And during those 117 snaps, Cole Strange had a pass protection grade, according to Pro Football Focus. He had a pass protection grade of 79. So it's only 117 snaps. I mean, that is relatively nothing compared to other guards in the league. But when he was out there for the 117, and of course he played center as well a little bit last year, but when he was out there, he had a 79 grade, which ranked 6th at guard. Small sample size, but he showed you in that small sample size that he's capable of not being a disaster in pass protection. And you want to talk about athleticism. Cole Strange was the number 1 ranked interior offensive lineman according to the relative athletic score in 2022 when he came out. Kent Lee Platt wrote this about Strange. He scored a 9.95 RAS out of a possible 10. That ranked 7th all-time at guard from 1987 to 2022. When Cole Strange came out in that draft, he was the 7th most athletic guard that had been recorded from 87 to 22. Super athletic. And I think he has the highest ceiling out of these guys if he's healthy. And that's a big if. But I lean towards Cole Strange right now. 3 names we might be overlooking, but could have an impact on the 2025 season. That's coming up next as we continue with today's episode of Locked On Patriots, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The NFL is a battle of attrition. It is a battle of attrition that gets tougher when you account for the 17th game. And let's not forget, the NFL is going to inevitably move to 18 games because that's what they want to do. More games means more money. And we always know the owners are thinking about the shkadol, the revenue. And to survive this battle of attrition and to give yourself the best chance to get to the playoffs and advance through the playoffs, you need some depth. And I think there are some guys on this roster right now. If we were to jot down a 53, there are at least 3 guys that I think have been forgotten or at least not talked about nearly enough. I brought up Robert Spillane last week, but Robert Spillane has been talked about a heck of a lot more than the 3 guys I'm going to mention here. And these 3 forgotten names could have an impact in 2025. They make this team. They could absolutely help this football organization take that next step to that competitive level that we talked about in segment 1. Let me start with Alex Austin. I feel like Alex Austin has been severely overlooked by many people. And he was hurt last year. He didn't play as much as we anticipated him playing. But when he got out there, and as the season went on, he showed flashes. And he showed those kinds of flashes in 2023 when he was picked up. He had some decent games. He had some good games for Steve Belichick and company in 23. He comes back in 24. Misses most of the year, but then he shows it. He gets out there on the field, and his film, his play, speaks for itself. Good enough to bring him back. Good enough to give him a shot, give him an opportunity at making this team as a corner. Andrew Callahan wrote about Alex Austin in the OTA practice he had last week. Callahan wrote, "A good day for third-year corner Alex Austin, who finished with a pass breakup and went step for step on a deep ball that fell incomplete and was intended for rookie Kyle Williams." Alex Austin, from when he started here, I've said he has shown some potential, and enough potential that has piqued my interest. And I believe that he could be a valuable member to the secondary. And when you think about cornerback, we all know Christian Gonzalez, and we all know Carlton Davis. But Carlton Davis, it needs to be said, because we need to be objective here and try to look at things as clearly as we can. Carlton Davis is a really good corner. And Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis are going to form a fantastic tandem when healthy. And that's the biggest question with Davis. Davis's entire career, he's missed games. Throughout his career, he has averaged under 13 games a season. 12.7. I did the math. I'm proud of myself. 12.7 games a year for Carlton Davis. So if you go into this season with Davis as your number 2, which we all expect that's going to be the case. Gonzo 1, Davis 2. You have to understand that Davis's history tells us he's likely going to miss a month of the season because that's what he's done throughout his career. He's missed a month of the season. So who's going to start if Davis misses 4 or 5 weeks? What if he misses more than that? Who's going to start? Who's the outside corner? We haven't had that conversation much. Looks like Craig Woodson's going to play corner and safety and kind of, fly around the field. But Alex Austin is in that conversation. If Davis or Gonzalez go down, Austin is part of that mix, and he should be part of that mix. So for a guy like Davis, who's missed as much time as he has, I just think Austin, he's more than an insurance policy. You almost have to bet he's going to play. If he ends up being the next best outside corner on this team, he's going to play because Davis is not going to get through the season. That's what he's told us. And Gonzalez, of course, his rookie season, we all know how that ended. So Alex Austin could have a big role on this team if things unfold a certain way. And I wonder if he could play some big nickel, 6'1", 191. I wonder if that's an option. I wonder if that's even been broached by this coaching staff. But Alex Austin, I think, is not getting nearly enough talk. He has been close to completely forgotten on this roster, and he could end up playing a pretty significant role. I also think Caden Wallace has not been talked about this offseason as much as he should be. I love Morgan Moses, true leader, and he has played hurt, and he has played pretty well over the final 5 years here that he's played in the league. But last year was a down year. He's 34 years old. He's coming off knee surgery. So it's not a guarantee that Morgan Moses is going to play 17 games. It's not a guarantee that Morgan Moses is going to play at a high level in 17 games. It's not a guarantee he's going to play even at a very good level or maybe even a good level. We hope. We hope he's going to play that good level. But Morgan Moses at 34 with a bulky knee and coming off one of his worst seasons, Caden Wallace is going to have importance. If he can stay on the field during this camp season and he puts reps up out there, he could be your best option at right tackle. I mentioned earlier in the show, Sidy So's been, kind of moonlighting at right tackle. If Caden Wallace is who you thought he was when you drafted him last year, a guy who started 40 games at Penn State in the Big Ten, a team that is usually top 10 in the country, and he started 40 games at right tackle for them. If Caden Wallace is right, and he shows to you what you thought he was going to be, then that's the answer. If Moses' play is not good enough, if Moses' knee doesn't fully cooperate with him, the wear and tear, the age 34 starts to impact him, and he can't give you what you hoped he would be able to give you, Caden Wallace has to be that guy. Vidarian Lowe's not a right tackle. He's played left tackle pretty much. It's pretty much what he is. So not only is Caden Wallace that primary backup if things work out well, he's that guy for Morgan Moses, but he also could bring swing tackle potential. Because as Elliott Wolf said when they drafted him last year, they thought he could transition to left tackle. Well, now he doesn't transition. He doesn't have to transition full-time to left tackle. But if he could play some left tackle, that is a huge void. The swing tackle cannot be overlooked. And Caden Wallace has importance to back up Moses and hopefully be that guy who can swing from the right side to the left side when you need him to. Finally, I'm just going to throw this out there. Austin Hooper. We've talked about all the other players. Kyle Williams and Travion Henderson's coming out of the draft. We've talked about Stephon Diggs. We've spent a lot of time on the wide receiver room and who is going to make it, who's a lock, who's not a lock. When we talk about tight end, we talk about Hunter Henry for the most part. We've talked about Efton Chisholm more than we've talked about Austin Hooper. Chisholm might not make the team, and I would say he's unlikely to make it. Not impossible, but he's unlikely to make it. But we've spent more time talking about Efton Chisholm than we've talked about Hooper. Hooper had good chemistry with your young quarterback last year. Austin Hooper signed with Vegas in 2023 when, who was the head coach? Your current offensive coordinator. Josh McDaniels had interest in Hooper, thought he could play a pretty good role in his offense. And Hooper's coming off his best season in a few years, 45 catches, 476 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And look at the depth chart. Hunter Henry is not getting any younger. Westover's on there, Jaheim Bell, Dupree. But Austin Hooper could end up being pretty important on this football team. So those are the 3 names: Alex Austin, Caden Wallace, and Austin Hooper. Forgotten, but could play a significant role this year. That wraps up this edition of Locked On Patriots. On tomorrow's show, the latest on Stephon Diggs' recovery. Let me know your thoughts on today's topics. Reach out to me on Twitter at NickCRadio, and don't forget to throw a comment in on the YouTube channel. Thank you for making Locked On Patriots your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting. Krabs and Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.